Welcome back to the channel. The Honda NC750X. What I'm going to do a video on today was, obviously I've had my bike's been stood in the workshop for 6 months and never used it. I'm going to use it I think this coming year. So I'm going through it front to back, it's just what I do. It's going to have a full service and what have you. Now I bought this bike second hand and I bought it from a shop. When I was in the shop I had a look around it best you can, you know, this hasn't got a centre stand so it's only on the side stand and it's stood in the shop with among a row of bikes. They wheeled it forward for me and I had a look around it, pushed it outside, they run it, they only let me ride around the car park. Seemed good, it's a Honda, you know, it's a Honda NC750X, what can be wrong with this? I had it delivered because when you buy a bike in Bulgaria there's no registration with them. They take the registration off. I think this was imported from Italy actually. First thing I do, I've had a few bikes since I lived here now, is bring them in the workshop, jack them up, full service, the works like. When I was checking the rear wheel on it, checked the wheel for any play or anything, I'd already checked it in the shop but the weight of the bike was on it. The wheel was, I thought, oh Christ, wheel bearings are knackered. But I thought, well, wheel bearings don't cost much. Plus, I'm the sort of person it's like, I don't know if you can see that in the back, my Himalayan stands here, it's still under warranty. I've just put new valves in the engine and oil pump drive chains and stuff on it. And people have said to me, why haven't you took it back under warranty? Well, I don't. It's just how I am. I always put better parts in than what is stock if I can. I don't really trust the shops or the mechanics that I've got there. It's the same with this. You know, it was a second-hand bike. They ain't going to go spending a fortune putting the thing right. But what I did, I thought, right, I'll get some decent wheel bearings in this. So my local bearing shop, all they sell is Timpkin bearings, which, great. So got the bearings for it. Took the wheel out. And I was, oh Christ, I looked at it, it wasn't the wheel bearings that was in the wheel was still good. What it was the bearing had been spinning in the hub and worn the physical wheel, part where the bearing press is in, had worn it away. And what I did, so basically the wheel was scrap, yet the bearing was okay, which I couldn't understand. I thought, well, I'd look at the bearings and there's no part number or name on them, but I assume there was just what the Honda fitted. So what I did a video of it and sent the video to the shop. Now the shop was okay, they do know me. I bought, well, since I've been in Bulgaria, I think nearly all my bikes have been bought through them, so they were sort of okay. And I says to them, I don't want the wheel fixing because in Bulgaria they'll bodge anything. I didn't want them dot punching it so the bearings is snug fit like. I says, what I want is another wheel. And there's fair enough, they agreed like. And I says, I'm not bringing the bike to you. I'll send you the damaged wheel. You send me a replacement wheel. Anyway, when it arrived, I got it. Bearings was in it. Checked it, everything was good. So I knocked the bearings out and put my Timpkin bearings in. But what I did on it, I Loctited the bearings in, just as a secondary safety precaution really, on my own behalf sort of thing really. And the bearings I knocked in was quite a snug fit anyway, and put it back together. I think I've done about 9, maybe 10,000 kilometres with it and there's been no problem since. After the first 1,000 kilometres I did take the wheel out again and check it, it was bang on, like perfect. Now what I did find was, as soon as I found I got a problem, if you put in the internet, Honda NC750X problems, it very rarely comes up with anything. You know, these bikes are basically one of the most reliable, you know, for God's sake, the engines, you see people with 250,000 kilometres on the clock and bar regular servicing, no trouble, ultra reliable. But then if you put in something specific like I did, rear wheel bearing problems, it brought up I think maybe half a dozen cases of the same problem as I got. So there was a bit of a problem. It's like the hubs are too soft or something. I'm not sure. Anyway, I got to one of my mates has got one of these, and he says, "Oh, would I check his?" And he says, "Well, actual fact," he says, "if you put Timpkin bearings in yours, will you put Timpkin bearings in mine?" I says, "Yeah, no problem." So he brings it down, takes the wheel out, and I did notice his bearings. I put my finger in and just pulled them out with my finger. I thought, "Cuss, these aren't very tight." And when I put the Timpkin ones in, they still weren't very tight. So I Loctited his in, and his has been fine. So all I'm going to do today is, I've sort of basically told you what's happened. That video, after I've stopped talking, that video will appear and you will see it. It'll be on in a minute, like. So you can see what's actually happened. And then all I'm going to do, I'm taking the wheel out and I'm going to put it on the bench and I'll film where the bearings are. They don't need replacing. I'm just going to show you that the bearings are Loctited in, bearings are fine, put the wheel back in, job finished. Should be, I hope, anyway. But it's just a bit of an interesting video for you, and I think it could be something next time you get the wheel out to do change sprockets or have a tyre fitted. Just check your rear wheel bearings, that's all. In the bike over, and there was a lot of play in the rear wheel, so I've taken the wheel out because I thought the wheel bearing had failed. It is not the wheel bearing. The bearing has worn the centre hub of the wheel out. As you can see on the video, the bearing outer has worn the aluminium of the wheel out. Right, well, first off I'll show you, come round here. That's the tools you need. Got a ratchet, 27mm socket for the rear wheel, hammer, punch, 14 and a 12mm spanner there for the adjusters if you have to slack them off. So, right, I think I'll whip the wheel out. I'll stop the camera. I'll just whip the wheel out because surely we all know how to take a wheel out, don't we? And I'll put it on the bench and I'll switch the camera back on and you can have a look at that then. All right, I'll see you in a couple of minutes, right? I think it was about 30-40 seconds, wheel out on the bench. Obviously this is your sprocket and hub. We can, let me just on the camera up here so I can see what I'm doing a bit better. All right, just pull your hub out. There is a bearing in here. Yeah, it's perfect, lovely. These are the rubber dampers with the teeth on the hub. They sit in there, and that gives a, when you're letting the clutch out or being a bit abusive with it, if you want to be like it, that, saving the gearbox a bit, so all the strain doesn't go to the gearbox. These rubbers will take the initial strain out of it. You can pull them out. All you're checking for really is the condition of them. Yeah, they're good. You can usually tell if these got play in, as you can move the sprocket when these are fitted. And also another telltale sign, when you take them out, if these are getting worn, you usually find inside here there's piles of rubber dust, and as you can see this one's pretty clear. So I'll put them there out of the way. Right. Now that's the seal in the wheel. I've just put bar, lift it out. This here, that's the wheel bearing this side. Perfect. No player, nothing in it. This was the wheel bearing that was, instead of this inner, I don't know whether you can see it, Yeah, you can adjust. The inner spinning. That's what it should do. What was happening with the wheel I had, the outside of the bearing, this had been going round in this part of the wheel. And what it had done, it had worn this part of the hub. Well, this part of the hub is actually the wheel. So the only thing you could have done was if you had a decent machine shop, you could have machined this out and pressed a steel sleeve inside, which I suppose could have been a better fix than just replacing the wheel. But I say there's nothing wrong with this. But what I did when I put this bearing in, I put Loctite in, bearing fit it's called, then press the wheel bearing in, and it's never moved. So I think these bearings must have been in 9,000 kilometres, I reckon, and perfect, just good as new still, which was what they should be. Now the only problem is I don't know what caused the original problem, and it wasn't something that was just specific to my bike. There has been more cases of this. So when you take your wheel out, change the chain sprockets, change the tyre, just pull this dust seal out. Now this bearing should be solid fit. You shouldn't be able to move this at all. It wants knocking out. Now my mates, when I did his, I put my finger in there and I just like that and pulled the bearing straight out. But I fitted the new Timpkin bearings in his and I Loctited them the same, and his is the same as mine. Never been no problem. I think it's a case, as long as the bearing's tight fit and the Loctite's holding it in place, it can't spin. It shouldn't spin, but obviously they do. And then you find that you've got some problems like. But I thought I'd just show you it. But you've already seen the video now. What can happen? Don't know why it happens. Whether it was a bad batch of wheels. This is a 2018 model. This. Whether it was specific to these, because at the time I don't think I asked these other people, and I didn't see any age or what the problem might have been. But pointed it out to you now. What I will do, I'll put the Timpkin number. I'm not saying Timpkin are the only good bearings, but the quality, worldwide quality Timpkin. So my thoughts on anything I do, try and put the best bits you've got back in the bike. So the bearings I took out of it, got no numbers on, no name. So I'd say the cheap Chinese crap. Right, so I'm going to knock the seal back in. That's knocked back in. You've got this sleeve. I shall clean this off, I'm just showing you for the camera. That pops back in there. It's worth just putting a tad of grease on it, just a bit of grease in there, just so it's not wearing the lip of the seal away too much. I shall put the rubbers back in, the sprocket back in, and I'm going to put the wheel back in. I could show you how to put the back wheel in. I just assume people who have their own bikes can at least take the wheel out. Or if you're not confident in taking the wheel out, when you take it to a garage to have a tyre replaced, or the workshop, if you're going to have new chain and sprockets fitted and you don't want to do it yourself, just ask the mechanic, could they check this? See if the bearings are tight. It's only taking them a minute, they shouldn't charge or anything, they've got the wheel in front of them. Then you can sort it. If the bearings, like my mates, was just, I could just pull them out of my finger. I put the new ones in and Loctited his in, and his is as good as mine. It never moves, so this should be okay. Don't worry too much on it. But if you got your bearing in and you got your Just hang on a minute. Oh. If you can put the spindle in, you'll see it. See, once that's through there, that's a good fit. You saw on the video, I had this in my hand, and this was clunk, 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 clunk like this. So, as long as you ain't got that sort of problem, you're right. Because it took the shop a little while to get me a spare wheel, a replacement wheel. I know it was irrelevant and it was black. And he says, oh, we've got a black wheel for you. I says, well, my bike had a silver one in, paint it, which they did do. Can't moan at the shop. This is Bulgaria. It's just how they are like. But you could bear in mind when you buy a bike and they've got all these posters all over the place saying this has had a 50 point or a 100 point check before it leaves the shop, it's fully serviced. More often than not, it's just, they might adjust the chain and change the oil and filter. You've got to bear in mind, every bit of money they spend on a bike is out of their profit. I'm not saying all shops are like this, by the way, but you know, this was supposed to be fully serviced, this bike. Obviously it wasn't. It was after I got it, but that's just how things are. Right, so I'm not going to bother showing you putting the wheel back in. Video is more about the problem that could be with the wheel. And I've just took it out for peace of mind again for this year. Checked it. I know it's perfect. Like everything else I'm going to check on my bike, and any service, anything done that I should be doing through anyway. So, I hope the video's been good for you. Interesting. Something to think about. If you like the video, subscribe. Thumbs up. Any comments, put them down below, and I always read them, and I will answer what I can for you. Well, if you've got any queries about this, well, I basically covered it, I think. You know, I'll answer the question. One external thing you could have a look at without taking the wheel off your bike is the ABS ring. Now, if the bearing's gone real bad, the wheel has got a bit of wobble on it. Now, I don't know whether you can see on this. Yes, you can. Here, look. You see that? You can see where something's been rubbing on there. Now, what that was the ABS sensor. Because the wheel was not straight, the wheel was tipping on its side like this. When it tipped on its side, the ABS sensor was rubbing on this ABS ring. So have a look at your ABS ring. It shouldn't look like mine does. There, you can see the wear bit on it. It's only where it's rubbed lightly, but it's a mark on it. That shouldn't really be there. So if your ABS ring is perfectly clean, let me just have a look on the front for you. Yeah. If you look at my front one, there's nothing. That's what your rear one should look like. No marks on it at all. It's only a bit of metal, thin metal stuff with the holes in it, just breaks up the sensor for the ABS. But there should be no marks on it because it's not touching anything. It shouldn't be touching anything. So your rear one should look like that. So that's another little thing for you to check for. Anyway, I'm going on too long now. So like I say, please subscribe. Thumbs up, comments down below. I will answer them. Any help you give me towards getting this channel up and going, we're not doing bad, then I can do more videos and we'll see how we go on. Right, I'll see you on the next video, and thanks very much. Cheers.